Straight ahead, in the Texas Senate race, President Trump has said he will campaign for Ken Paxton in the Lone Star State. Why one former Republican leader says the president needs to come here often.
I think he needs to pitch a tent in Texas.
Two Republican Texas lawmakers who endorsed Senator John Cornyn's re-election bid now tell us they're backing Paxton.
We committed to support each other and told him that me and all the Republican representatives in Collin County are going to do everything we can to get him across the goal line.
It's incumbent upon us and for all Republicans to get out and support the ticket from the top to the bottom.
And Texas Republicans elected a new party chief will speak with the new GOP chair, Dorinda Randall, about how she will bring the party together. Good Sunday morning to you. I'm Jack Fink. Get your fix for Texas politics. Eye on Politics on CBS News Texas starts now. Hello and welcome to Eye on Politics. Hope your weekend is off to a great start. We are going to begin with two state Republican representatives who endorsed Senator John Cornyn over Ken Paxton in the Senate GOP primary and runoff, who are now backing the Attorney General. Representatives Matt Shaheen of Prosper and Jeff Leach of Allen are from Collin County, Paxton's home turf. Paxton has remained at odds with the lawmakers after Shaheen and Leach were among the 60 House Republicans who voted to impeach the Attorney General back in 2023. Leach was also an impeachment manager who spoke during Paxton's trial in the Senate. Paxton was acquitted on all articles of impeachment, and he strongly denied any wrongdoing. The Attorney General then campaigned against Shaheen and Leach in their respective Republican primaries. Shaheen and Leach told me they are supporting Paxton for the good of the Republican Party and the state of Texas.
Well, I think the Republican voters spoke loud and clear that they preferred Ken Paxton. He won overwhelmingly in the primary. And look, we need to motivate our base, make sure that Republican base gets out, and Ken Paxton has clearly demonstrated that he can get our Republican base out. So we look forward to November, helping him out and doing everything we can to get him and all of our awesome Republican candidates across the goal line in November.
Well, yeah, it was never a question for me and Representative Shaheen, and I don't believe that it should be a question for Republican voters across the state. Primaries are a time for us to pick our roster, to pick our candidates, to kind of have our family fights, if you will. But once the slate is chosen, which the voters of Texas have done, it's incumbent upon us and for all Republicans to get out and support the ticket from the top to the bottom. So it's never a question for me. We know what our candidates, who our candidates are headed in November, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure every single one of them from the top to the bottom is elected.
You both had some tough words for General Paxton in the past, and I'm just wondering, have you called him? Have you had a chance to speak with him since this runoff? And, you know, what was that like?
Yeah, look, I had a brief conversation with Attorney General Paxton. It was brief. He's busy, as you can imagine. He's hard to get a hold of. But we had the opportunity to speak just for a couple of minutes, and we committed to support each other and told him that me and all the Republican representatives in Collin County are going to do everything we can to get him across the goal line. In fact, we're talking about having a big get out the vote event. So it was a brief conversation, but it was really positive, and we're united to make sure our entire slate wins in November.
I've reached out, and I haven't heard back yet, but I'm hopeful that he'll contact me soon.
And so what is your message to, all of John Cornyn's voters? Jeff, start with you.
Well, look, my message to all Republicans is we've got to come together. The stakes for this election are high, and the differences between the candidates, General Paxton and James Tallarico, who we know very well and have worked with in the Texas House, the differences could not be more stark and clear. If you are a Republican voter who cares about the future of this state, the strength of this state, the security of this state, then the question for you headed into November is clear. General Paxton, even if you've got political or personal issues or concerns with him or questions, the question for you, the answer is clear in terms of who you need to support as a Republican. I'm hopeful that Republicans will do so, And I've heard of some that plan to maybe just not vote in the race, and that in and of itself is a vote for Tallarico. He's progressive, he's radical, he's liberal, he's dangerous for the state of Texas and for our country.
Look, James Tallarico is a liberal extremist. He's a threat to Texas values. He has crazy ideas with respect to men and women's sports or men and women's bathrooms. He's mocked God. There's no place for somebody like that to be the United States Senator that's going to represent the state of Texas. Ken Paxton stands strong in protecting women's privacy. He stands strong in protecting our jobs and our economy. He's clearly the person to vote for this November.
Representative Leach, I know during the campaign you were very vocal, a very vocal critic about how the Texas Attorney General's office treated the Adam Hoffman case. Mm-hmm. Do you still have concerns about this? Do you still think there needs to be a hearing from your committee on this? And what was your take on the letter that the Attorney General's office, the two prosecutors who handled the case, sent to you?
Yeah, I was clear in my stance on that. I stand by my concerns with respect to how that case was handled. I haven't departed from that, and I want to apologize for it. I think there were major mistakes made with respect to how that case was handled. Failures in the system really at all levels, Jack. And I believe strongly that General Paxton and his staff, and we know him. We know his staff. And even though we might have disagreements over how certain cases were handled, I believe to his core, no, I don't believe it, I know it, to his core, he cares about protecting Texas children. He cares about protecting and advocating for abuse victims. And so, yes, while I had concerns and still have concerns about the Adam Hoffman case, looking forward, what we're focused on is the legislative changes we need to make at the state level to ensure that doesn't happen again. We're working hand in hand with our next Attorney General, Mays Middleton, on doing that. And that's where I'm focused, is forward focus, looking forward to next session and in November to make sure we have the right people in positions of public trust so that the right decisions can be made.
What changes do you think should be made?
Well, we should have mandatory sex offender registration for people like Mr. Hoffman. It just should not be an option for a case like this for someone who admits severe and substantial and repeated ongoing abuse of a child to get off as easily as Mr. Hoffman did and to be able to escape in many ways with very little to no consequences. So we're going to start with that.
Paxton's campaign advisor, Nick Maddox, sent us a statement saying, quote, "We are grateful for the support of State Representatives Shaheen and Leach. We all share the same goal, keep Texas red from the top of the ticket all the way down. We look forward to working with them to accomplish that goal." Coming up, new polls show the Texas Senate race between Paxton and Democratic State Representative James Tallarico remains virtually tied. Why a former statewide Republican official says President Trump needs to pitch a tent in Texas leading up to the election. When Eye on Politics on CBS News Texas returns. Welcome back to Eye on Politics. New polls show the Texas Senate race between Republican Ken Paxton and Democrat James Tallarico remains very tight with 4 months until the November midterm election. When you look at the 4 most recent independent polls between June 1st and 21st, they show Paxton ahead of Tallarico by a hair-splitting 1.3 percentage points. Paxton is at 45.8%, Tallarico at 44.5%. Ad Impact Politics says the projected spending in Texas this year overall will amount to $850 million. That's nearly $290 million higher than the original estimate last fall. And when you look at the Senate race alone, Ad Impact Politics predicts $446 million, close to $500 million, will be spent on that Senate race when it's all said and done. Tallarico started airing a new ad in many media markets in Texas last week, including the DFW market. It's called Drowning, and it focuses on lowering costs. Paxton released his own ad called Hypocrite, which focuses on Tallarico's record. It aired in the Corpus Christi market, where Texas Democrats held their party convention, which wrapped up yesterday. President Trump has said he will campaign in Texas for Paxton. As we've reported, Paxton reportedly said recently during a teletown hall that Republicans will hold a special midterm convention at the American Airlines Center in Dallas. A source tells me the first 2 weeks of the facility are being reserved by the RNC, but it has not been booked officially just yet. We went one-on-one with Republican and former Texas Railroad Commissioner Michael Williams about this race, and he told me the president should come to Texas often to campaign for Paxton.
Not only should the president come to Texas and campaign, I think he needs to pitch a tent in Texas. He needs to change his voter registration from Florida and move somewhere in Texas. He needs to be here on the regular campaigning for Attorney General Paxton. He put his thumb on the scale, he broke it, he owns it. And so therefore, in order to make sure that we not only win Texas, that we do not lose the U.S. Senate, that we do not change the narrative about Texas and Texas Republican victories, he needs to be here. Now, as it relates to that convention, that's a great thing, because conventions energize your voters and energize your volunteers. It gives you an opportunity to get, free TV time, for your candidates. So that would be a great idea. But even if you do that, I'm serious when I say this. The president needs to be here on the regular. He needs to be here so often that we actually do believe he's moved to Texas.
But when should he start doing that, do you think?
Yesterday.
Oh, so you think the president's...
This race has already started. I mean, Representative Tallarico, just spent $1 million on a new TV, on his first TV ad. So this campaign has already started in earnest. And so there's not a lot of time to waste. 4 months is not a long time.
You've told me before that you believe Texas is ground zero. Why do you say that?
Because the narrative has always been that we're red, that we're redder than red. Democrats don't have a chance in Texas. The last thing we want to do is to give Democrats one inkling of an idea that they can win a statewide race in Texas. And so that's why, and if you lose Texas, it's my sense that you'll lose one or more of those other 5 U.S. Senate seats that are up for election right now.
How do you see Texas then playing out?
You've heard me say on your show so many times that a Democrat hasn't won a statewide race in Texas in 30 years. But this is a different cycle. And in this particular cycle, it is extremely important for Republicans to mend the sort of division between Senator Cornyn and General Paxton and his voters. And so General Paxton is going to have to work real hard to make sure that those 30 some odd percent of voters who voted for Senator Cornyn, number one, show up and vote. Number two, vote for the U.S. Senate race, as well as those other down ballot races, and vote for Paxton.
Senator Cornyn has said he is going to support the ticket, but he has not come out and said specifically Ken Paxton. Is there anything more that you think he could do?
Well, there's a lot that he could do. Obviously, he could give a full-throated endorsement of A.G. Paxton, which he is not going to do. And obviously they had a hard-fought primary and runoff election, so that full-throated endorsement's not coming. So at this point, I think it's less about what the senator does and more about what the AG does.
Up next, Texas Republicans replace their state party chairman. We'll speak with their new chair, Dorinda Randall, about how she wants to unite the party when Eye on Politics on CBS News Texas comes right back. As I mentioned earlier, Texas Democrats just wrapped up their party convention, and we'll report on that next week. In the meantime, Texas Republicans at their state convention replaced their party chairman. Dorinda Randall is the new chair, and we asked her about her victory and how she plans to unite the party.
We won by 80% of the vote. So that was historical for the RPT, and it's a mandate for me, and it's also something that I've got to live up to, and I cannot, it's all factions of the Republican Party that voted for me. It was the very grassroots, far right, which I am, and it's the ones that are more moderate, that they all said we've got to have a different direction because the midterms are right around the corner.
Do you think that the party is fractured? Because there's been a lot of talk about that, number one, but number two, the overall message from the Texas GOP convention was unity, unity, unity. Well, if the party wasn't unified, you wouldn't need to say that. Or if it was unified, you wouldn't need to say that, right? So how badly fractured is the party?
The party is fractured. I'm not gonna say that it's not. The infighting has been pretty high, but with the race that I just won, all I ran on was I have a plan. And I have a plan for the RPT to succeed. I have a plan for the midterms. I have a plan for the youth of the RPT. You know, we have a ton of young people that have gotten involved since Charlie Kirk's assassination. We had 86,000 chapters of Turning Point that grew and prospered all over America. And in Texas, it's the same way. Our youth are very engaged. But if we do not capture that, if they don't feel they have a partner, then they are going to go about their life and they're not going to be part of the party. I've got to make sure that I capitalize on that, I get them involved, and we have a backbench for Republicans that are coming up in the future. So that's having a direction, having a vision, having a product that everybody believes in. That's how you bring unity.
You know, there's been a lot of talk, obviously, since the primary runoff when Attorney General Ken Paxton really wanted a blowout and defeated Senator Cornyn. So how do you reach Republicans who may not really be so crazy about Paxton?
That's one of the questions that everybody is asking right now. But the thing is that, you know, in politics, 2 weeks is a lifetime in politics. We've got until November to show everybody what Tallarico's what he wants to do for the state. Yes, his policies and his thinking is beyond anything I've ever heard, that Jesus is non-binary and he's supposedly a pastor and all of these things. But it's also that he missed over 700 votes whenever he was in office. You have to look at his record, you have to look at his rhetoric, because what he's saying in his rhetoric is what he wants to do in policy. And those policies will hurt Texas. So I have until November to make that case. And the Cornyn voters are already starting to see, because I had a call today before I got here of Cornyn voters that are saying, yes, we have to vote for Ken Paxton. And Ken Paxton has had a tremendous record as AG, and he was as a senator. And so we have to look at his successes and then look at, compared to Tallarico, you want to go this way just because you don't want to vote for the Republican that was unanimous, that won by a landslide. That's somebody that we need to love Texas more than we love who is up for election.
One thing that the party has been fighting for, and that is to close the primaries. And Governor Abbott announced during the convention that he favors that now. Why is that so important? And essentially what would have to happen is people would have to register to be in the party, right? Why is that important for the success of the party going forward, do you think?
Well, the Democrat Party should never choose our elected officials in the Republican Party, just like we should never choose theirs.
Has that happened, though?
Oh, yes. Okay, so there's been a few races. David Covey, who's the vice chair, he ran against Dade Phelan. And when Dade looked like he was going to lose, he made a deal with the Democrats, and 2,000 of them came over and voted, and David only lost by 366 votes. When it comes to party leadership, the thing is it's only Republicans that vote for me and vote for the vice chair. So why, if the Republican Party, it's good enough for leadership to only have Republicans vote for us, then why can't we do that with every nominee?
President Trump is refusing to sign a major housing affordability bill passed by Congress for now. But it might not matter. Sarah Jenkins explains and tells us why lawmakers think the bill will lower housing prices. It's all in the brief.
The housing affordability bill passed Congress with overwhelming bipartisan support. It would boost home building by streamlining federal regulations, limit large corporate investors from buying certain single-family homes, expand funding for modular housing and office-to-apartment conversions, increase financing for affordable housing projects, and strengthen protections for renters. Both parties say it would help lower housing prices. President Trump canceled a planned bill signing on Wednesday, saying he won't sign it unless Congress passes the Save America Act, an elections bill he supports. But because the housing legislation passed with veto-proof majorities in both the House and Senate, it doesn't need the president's signature. If Congress remains in session and Trump takes no action for 10 days, the bill will automatically become law. For The Brief, I'm Sarah Jenkins.
All right, thank you, Sarah. And you can watch all our full interviews from today's show on our CBS Texas YouTube page. While you're there, go to the Eye on Politics playlist and hit the subscribe button. And that's all for Eye on Politics this week. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Jack Fink. I am listening, and we are listening to you at CBS News Texas. From all of us here, an early happy July 4th, the USA's 250th birthday. I'll see you next week.